Hey guys, what's up? It's Jack and welcome back to another video. And I just got done playing a little session of XDefiant, and yes, I do not play as often as I used to, but it always does feel good to play whenever I do play it. And I get my arcade shooter fix in, and I've been playing some of the single player games that I've bought recently and just kind of missing out on stuff that I should have played years ago, and I have absolutely no regrets. But with that being said, one of the questions that's been going on in my mind a lot recently that I want to share with you in this particular video about XDefiant is it too late for XDefiant? Now, let me take you back to a glorious time briefly, 15 years ago. 15 years ago, there was a game that came out that was called Modern Warfare 2, and it is arguably the most legendary Call of Duty game ever made from a legacy standpoint, right? From a gameplay standpoint, you can argue Black Ops 1, Black Ops 2, you can argue, a few of the others. But from a legacy standpoint, I think a lot of the people that are familiar with classic Call of Duty can pretty much say that the original Modern Warfare 2, despite its problems, from a legacy standpoint, that game is pretty much a top 3 COD on most people's list, right? In terms of the legacy that it was able to leave behind and the kind of impact that it had when it released. And one of the reasons why it had the impact that it did was everybody stopped playing whatever that they were playing, and they were playing Modern Warfare 2. But why was that exactly? And I think a big reason as to why that was is because no matter what game mode you played, no matter how you played, no matter what class you used, no matter what weapon you used, no matter what, everything that you did in the game in one way or another, whether it was a single player, multiplayer, or Spec Ops, you were pretty much rewarded for every single thing that you did, whether it was in the form of challenges and prestige and literally every weapon having like challenges in and of themselves. And you'd see the progress bar after every match just filling up, it'd be completely yellow. And then when it was complete, it would say complete. And it was a really good feeling, right? It really bridged that gap or linked single player and multiplayer games all into one, if you think about it. Plus, it was a really good package deal. You had 3 different game modes. You had campaign, you had multiplayer, you had Spec Ops. Obviously, most people stuck around and played multiplayer, and multiplayer did an amazing job because it was doing things that all other multiplayer shooters weren't doing. Obviously, it was an easier access game. It was a much more customizable game. And most importantly, it was more rewarding because there was so much to do inside the multiplayer, regardless of how good you were and regardless of whatever class you used, right? And it was a glorious time. I still remember to this day, whenever looking at the OG Xbox 360 dashboard, man, I miss that dashboard. The best dashboard in gaming history, in my humble opinion. I remember looking at my friends list, right? And everybody on my friends list was playing Modern Warfare 2. And I was the only one who wasn't. And then I eventually bit the bullet, ended up getting the game. And I didn't regret it one bit. And I actually came to realize very quickly as to why people love this game so much. And this was and I was a person that never touched a Call of Duty game back then. I missed the COD 4 train. I had no idea whatsoever. I was still very much into Halo 2. I was also a person that was also playing a multitude of different games that I was interested in. And that's it. But once I got my hands on a Call of Duty, which Modern Warfare 2 was actually my first, despite the fact that I got my ass handed to me in multiplayer, the one thing that was really cool is that, again, every single game I felt like I was progressing, filling up those challenge bars, using new weapons, unlocking new perks, getting the perk to go from regular to pro, and, trying out the different weapons and just the differences between that game and Halo, right? So, and then, of course, you had your streaks and all that. Modern Warfare 2 back in 2009 really, really did it right. I mean, it did it in a way that Halo never did. And that's what separated it from the bunch. And that's why a lot of players did go back and play both games, between Halo and COD. But a lot of players just put down Halo completely and went with COD simply because of the fact that of all these things that I just mentioned, right? So what I'm trying to say is this game in the year 2024 of XDefiant, right? It released very bare bones. It is an alternate classic Call of Duty alternative, so to speak, right? But it released with very minimal reasons to come back and play in terms of feeling like progressing, right? it's like the game, like whenever the game does play well, and all the problems that it surface, like for instance the desync and all that kind of stuff, only add to its problems, you know, with people getting shot around walls, and sometimes the hit detection being inconsistent, the cheaters, all that kind of stuff. Like whatever problem that you have currently with this game obviously contribute to its issues. However, I would say that one of the biggest things that's holding this game back is the fact that which may have well be a mistake, that this game probably released when it did, which to me, to this day, I still believe it was rushed. Like it down in my core, I believe it was rushed. This is where I wish I could talk to Mark Rubin and he can tell me himself whether or not this is true, so that way I could kind of rest about it. But to be honest, you know, I mean, if XDefiant released a year from now, instead of May of 2024, if it released in May of 2025, and if these desync and netcode issues did not exist, if we had the progression system and the challenge system, prestige system with additional weapons, more weapons to play with, perhaps even more maps, even though we're fine with 14, but let's say perhaps even more maps, maybe a few more game modes here and there, a prestige system that really kept players coming back in so many different ways to do it, and, you know, challenges up the wazoo with all the what's it called, with all the different factions and weapons and all that stuff, right? Attachments for the weapons and stuff like that, just like the OG Modern Warfare 2, but with its own way, because it is XDefiant, it is an alternative, right? Like I think a lot of players. The question is, okay, here's a question I want to ask you: would we be down this bad if that was the case, right? If XDefiant released with all the bells and whistles that we are waiting for to this day, right? And we're not just we're talking everything from casual to single, like everything I just mentioned, right? If XDefiant released with all these things intact and with the game feeling good, the netcode being good and all that, would we be in the state that we are now 3 months after launch? Because it's been a little over 3 months since the game launched. And would we have lost our 700,000 concurrent players no matter when you played? Will we have lost our, 11 million players, right? Which isn't a thing anymore. You know, this game did have 11 million unique players, but obviously that's not anymore. The game is like what? Like it's not even in the top 40 for console games. I mean, we don't even know what it's like on PC either. And again, this is not me hating on the game at all. I'm just stating the facts at this point. I'm just laying everything down on the table, right? I'm laying everything down on the surface and telling you, like, if this game released in a year later, and with all these problems fixed, with everything there, would we be down this bad? That's what I want to know. And as far as esports is concerned, like, it's not, according to rumor, and something that I kind of mentioned in the previous video, like, they're not expecting, like, the esports side of things to take off for another year or so, right? Not until year 2. So I'm thinking to myself, I'm like, if these things were not an issue, and if it released in a similar way that Modern Warfare 2 released back in the day with all the bells and whistles. Now, obviously, I know that there are other games out there that don't release with all the bells and whistles intact these days, because it seems to be the thing now with games these days, right? I think we can think the microtransaction system as part of that problem, but anyway, that's a whole other topic, I guess. But I'm just saying, if XDefiant were to release similar to Modern Warfare 2 did back in 2009, would we be down this bad? Would XDefiant have a bigger impact, than it did, right? What do you guys think the difference would have been in the year 2024 if XDefiant released in a similar state and operation level and everything else and support that Modern Warfare 2 did back in the day, as well as, the dev team? I don't know how many people worked on the original COD 4 and Modern Warfare 2. I think it was like 60 people, right? Which just goes to show you. So this is another reason why I think maybe XDefiant has even a smaller team than that. I mean, we don't know. They haven't really answered that question. I remember I think I even tweeted at Mark Rubin at one point, but obviously there was no answer. Obviously he can't always answer, but anyway, I even did a poll on it. I think most of you guys think that we have 50 devs or less working on the game. So, but anyway, with that being said, I would really like to know your input down in the comment section below. Do you believe that XDefiant would have had a tremendous impact on the entire multiplayer arcade shooter genre if it released in a similar state that Modern Warfare 2 did back in 2009? Or do you think it would be something that would have similar results as to what we're getting now, to where players would be down bad and all that kind of stuff? Because again, we've experienced a shooter like this before, but I don't know, it could go either way, because part of me believes that XDefiant is catered to a very specific audience, but that specific audience is still popular to this day, because there are those of us that still remember Modern Warfare 2 of 2009, to this day, and I think, like I said previously in the beginning of the video, I think in terms of a legacy standpoint, I think Modern Warfare 2 of 2009 is pretty much on most people's top 3 list in terms of the best Call of Duties ever made from a legacy standpoint. So anyway, I can't wait to hear what you guys have to say in the comment section in terms of, what do you think would happen with XDefiant if it did release in that sort of state, with all the bells and whistles that Modern Warfare 2 had, and with all the reasons to give people to come back and play. And if anything, is it too late for this game? Is it too late for XDefiant? And if it's not, what do you think the game needs to do in order for that to be reversed? Can this loss of players and the amount of people playing on a daily basis today compared to what it was 3 months ago or 2 months ago, like, can this even be reversed? I'd really like to know. Anyway, with that being said, that concludes this commentary. I'd like to thank everybody for taking the time to watch and or listen, and I'll catch you guys on the next one.